This is my hydroponic system. It's made with PVC pipe that's 2-inch long, 2-inch wide and 10 feet long. And you can see I've got little elbows on the side, but I'll show you those a little bit closer later. Water comes in through the top. Over on the right hand side there's a little tube that brings all the water in from the tank. The water zigzags through those plants, feeding them all, and then empties out. On the bottom right there's a tube that goes through the fence back to a little water tank. The plants themselves live in 2-inch net pots that you can see Scotty, the roots are kind of hanging down and he's putting it back in the system. There's all these little square holes at the top that I used an angle grinder to make 2-inch squares, or they might be more rectangular. It wasn't perfect, but I just put the little net pots in there so you can pull them out, clean off roots if they're clogging up the system. You can harvest them or move them to a different system if you want, or rearrange them. Like I clustered all my lettuce to one side because it's winter and I cover them up. I guess it's fall, but it feels like winter sometimes, so I cover them at night. This is some plant food I found on Amazon.com. It's worked great for me. I bought also these meters. There's one for pH, and there's one for the nutrient content. So on the back of the bag you have instructions on how to, about how much of the Maxi Grow you need to add per gallon of water. But you also, it could be a little tricky as water evaporates or whatever. So I bought this little meter to tell me my parts per million, which is what we use to make sure we have enough nutrients in the water. It's reading the air, so it's going to say 1 or 0. But when it's in the water, when the little sensor's in the water, it should be somewhere around 500. I am not exact on that. It sometimes is like 450, sometimes it's closer to 600. I just let the plants ride, but I check it every week. And then I also check my pH. Lettuce likes to grow at a lower pH, so more acidic. So around 5.0 to about 6.5, I would say that was a good pH for me. If it was too high or too low, out of that range, I would adjust it. This is Root Farm. There's many brands of this, but basically there's one bottle to help if the pH is too acidic. You can use the balance up. So really if your number is 4, you just use up until you get to that 5 or 5.5 range. And if it's too high, let's say it's 7.5, you want to bring it down to at least, around 6. So the pH balance down and use the orange bottle. It really is easy to do. So then you just check with the pH meter again and see if you're in the correct range. So I'll take you to the tank and I'll show you how the parts per million monitor works in actually running water. Per million is only 100. I've got 400 to go, so I'm just going to start adding nutrient until I get up higher. But it's basically doesn't have anything in it. At 400 is quite. Okay, I'm at almost 500. I'm like 460, so it's pretty good. I'm gonna leave it alone for now. There's my water temperature, 57. I'm not doing anything about that. So things are good to go. My plants I'll check on them every weekend. I check on them and check on the water and all the stuff. And they've been very happy. They've been very forgiving for all my mistakes. Here they are over the fence. They don't mind. They live on the road. Lots of people like to see them. Makes people happy and curious. I want to see what's going on over here. Okay, I'm all done feeding it, checking its nutrients and everything, and it is all closed up. That helps keep the rain out. Sometimes if it rains a lot and water is flooding the system, my nutrients will go down, so then I have to adjust them. And I also don't want the water to evaporate very fast because then my nutrients would be too high and I wouldn't have enough water. So it's good to have it kind of closed off. So you see I just kind of cut a hole in the top of this bucket that I got from Home Depot. The electric cord comes out, the pump tube comes out, and then the tube bringing the water back in. I just let it trickle in, and it sounds pretty. I like the way it sounds. It makes me happy. So I just made a frame to hold the pipes on. I figured a diagonal angle would get the plants the most sun, and also just the way that our sun comes in from across the street, because we live in a forest, so it's cleared over there. So I just built like a frame with 2x4s by 8. So, and I just left it the height that it, like the length of it is. I used the entire 8-foot length. These pipes I think are 10 feet long, so they overhang a little bit, but it worked out okay. No problem. And then I just had a friend, my little friend Benny, helped me adjust these. I used these little, just bought them in the PVC pipe section. There's little things I screwed into the wood and then put them at the height that worked for my zigzag pattern. So Benny helped me just kind of hold them and adjust them. I didn't use any pipe glue. All this is just dry fit, and I do have now at the end of the season some algae, so obviously there's some water there, but I haven't really worried about it much. Algae doesn't look pretty, but it doesn't seem to steal too much water or nutrients or poison my plants or anything. Everything's been growing well, so I just leave it alone. Here you can see I just have the long tubes coming down with these little elbow connectors. Oh, there's a leak. You can see the leak. I've been waiting for this. I gotta find it. I've got some roots that are clogging up the system, so I have to take them out. There you can see it's kind of long. Scott's gonna assist me. Pull it up. I'm gonna clean up all these roots. They're clogging up my system. I'm losing water. So you can cut them down quite a bit because they get so much water directly to them. They don't need very big roots, but they still like to grow them. They like to grow as many roots as they can, but see how it's making my system drip. This is why we'd want bigger pipes. So all of my lettuce was started from seeds. I had a method where I would start 21 new seedlings every week. I started a lot more seeds. I just used paper towel in the plastic baggie, lots and lots of seeds, some water, zip it up for a week. Then after a week, I would take that baggie and move it on to the next stage, where I'd take the little seedlings, I'm just going to pretend this flower is a seedling, and put it into these little foam cubes I made. The foam cubes are actually upcycled Harry and David fruit foam from Harry and David. Fruit of the month, love it. I just cut it up into little squares and then put a slit in the middle, and I would stick the seedling in. So about 21 of these little squares would be floating around in a little tray of nutrient water, and they would grow and get bigger. Ta-da! 1 week later, hopefully the plant will be a little bit bigger. I'm just using these little Johnny jump ups as an example because they're cute. But if they were big and healthy like this one is pretending to be, I would stick it into a 2-inch net pot so that it can go into the system next. If a little root sticking out the end like this one is, I would stick it right into the system because that root would be deep enough in the water. But let's say it was smaller, like the root was maybe only halfway up or not sticking out of the cup at all, I would put them back in that little bath of water with the other seedlings, and give them another week to grow some nice roots before it goes out and tries to compete with the big plants that keep clogging up my system. This is a picture from the summer when I had plants at different stages. You can see the more mature plants are spread out, the little seedlings in between. Ignore the squash plant at the bottom on the left because squash does not do well in this. I had to transplant that. Lettuce and herbs like basil did really well. I harvested about 4 heads of lettuce a week. So I learned really fast that I had to keep replacing the net pots. So every week I planted lettuce, and every week I harvested lettuce, and I had lettuce seedlings in different stages. I've been learning so much. So next year I hope I have things ironed out and have even more success with my hydroponic lettuce. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was really fun to make it and share this really cool hobby.